Hi, this is Christopher Bruzzo. Welcome back. This week I'm doing a part 3 with the Remington 870 20 gauge. In the first 870 video I had a comment where a viewer suggested trying some different low recoil ammunition. And ammunition is extremely hard to find right now, and I said, you know, thanks. It was a very helpful comment. Very glad he made it. And I said, I'll take a look for it. And sure enough, on ammoseek.com, I was able to find Remington Ultimate Defense Managed Recoil Buckshot. And he said it kicks a lot less, which it does. So what I'm doing here is I'm comparing it to the ammunition I used to keep in this shotgun. And spoiler, it does kick quite a bit less, and we'll run through the numbers of that. I also had my wife shoot it, and I'll give you her impressions. But they're both number 3 buck. The Winchester, which from here on out we'll call the Winchester, and this is the Remington. It's 20 pellets of number 3 buck. This is 17 pellets of number 3 buck. This is 1,200 feet per second advertised velocity, and this one's 1,140 feet per second advertised. We did chrono them, so went to the range, patterned both ammunitions at 10 and 20 yards. Normally at the range I have a GoPro set up downrange on the target. Unfortunately, it did not work this time. It would say recording, then I would stop recording, and it would say internal HD card failure, or HD card failure, or something like that. So I did not get that footage. Luckily though, usually I'll take 3 shots at the same target and mark, you know, what shot is what. But luckily this time, I set up 2 targets, actually 3 targets on the 10-yard target, because I put a sighter out to the side just to see where it was shooting, especially because this is the first time I was shooting the Remington ammunition. So when we do the 10-yard targets, you'll see me shoot 5 times instead of 4. But anyway, so we've got one silhouette up top that is 1 shot, and the one below it is 3 shots with no distinction between you know, first, second, and third shot, but 3 shots, the same aiming point. And if you want to know more about this shotgun, the more I shoot it, I'm really liking it. It's very handy, very light and easy to move around. I did 2 videos with this before. One just kind of introducing it, talking about it, and a part 2 where I went to the range and I compared it to a 12 gauge. And my conclusion was, it's a great shotgun if you have one, shoot it, use it, but it doesn't kick a lot less than the 12 gauge because it's a lighter package, a lighter, smaller package, delivering less energy, but the ratio between the two was not super significant and nothing that anybody's going to really notice. I think this ammunition changes that a bit, but well, let's go to the range and see what happens. Okay, so Winchester silhouette, 1 shot, 10 yards. Very nice pattern. This is a staple. When I ripped it off the target, I had staples there and there. But this is the shot pattern, and that's kind of ideal for a self-defense shotgun at 10 yards. I mean, that looks, I mean, it's ideal at any distance, but this is at 10 yards. So we have an 8-inch spread. Generally, you hear a lot of people refer to 1 inch per yard, or slightly less than that. 8-inch spread at 10 yards. And when we take 3 shots, now you'll see, you saw the video, so I mean, I'm shooting quickly, probably not as fast as you would in a real defense situation, but I'm not wasting time and taking a ton of time aiming. So your shot group is going to open up. At 10 yards with 1 shot, we had everything in the B segment of the target. You got your A, B, C. And with this, everything's in the A and B, and then we have 1 over here in C. We have a maximum spread of 13 inches with 3 quickly aimed shots. I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but to me, I mean, it kicked a fair amount. I mean, it's not bad. Nothing you would even really notice in a defensive situation. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but I'm assuming it's a lot like hunting. In a hunting situation, you're at the range shooting your hunting rifle, you're like, wow, that kicks a lot. I have never said that after I've shot at a live animal. That's not where your attention is at. You're focused on the target, I guess, and you don't really notice the recoil. But for a newer shooter and somebody like, originally this was built for a female, that's why I put it together. But this would be a great family defense shotgun, and they might be more perceptible to that recoil. I have no idea if that's reality, but that's my thinking. So let's see how the Remington ammunition did.
Still running down there?
Yeah. Okay, so 1 shot with the Remington reduced recoil at 10 yards. I mean, that's great. That's a great group. Again, A and B zone. And this measures 6 inches, smaller than what we were seeing with the Winchester. And that's impressive. I mean, you have 3 less holes in the target, but they're all exactly where they need to be, and that's good. I'm honestly very impressed with that. So 3 shots. This is what the target looks like. That's the wad that hit it. That's not actual impact that would come into account here. I'll still call this the B zone. Generally, when I used to do pistol shooting competitions, if you're on the line, it counts for the B zone rather than the C zone. Anyway, a very dense pattern, and this measured 10.25 inches maximum spread, where I think we saw 13 with the Winchester. And again, quick aiming, not really taking your time. You recover, rack. Once that bead hits the intended aiming point, you pull the trigger. And I guess I'm not surprised that this ammunition has a tighter group, because it's lower recoil, and that certainly helps your recovery, it helps your sight picture, everything. And that's why in rifle competitions, everybody's shooting 6mm or 22. Nobody's shooting 308 in open. It's a different topic, or 6.5, anything like that. I mean, anybody in contention to win is shooting 6mm, possibly 22. It's because it's lower recoil, and your sight picture you can maintain your sight picture through that recoil. And that's possibly, I'm not saying that's why, but that's possibly why this is a tighter group. However, one shot 6 inches versus 8-ish, I forgot what it was, 8 inches. I mean, that's both are great groups, but so far it looks like Remington is winning this battle. So let's go to the range and shoot Winchester at 20 yards. Okay, Winchester, 20 yards, one shot. Not great. I mean, we're on the left half of the target, right half from shooter view, and the spread actually opened up to 13 inches. And I mean, it is what it is. This ammunition is marketed for deer, and I would not want to shoot a deer at 20 yards. With that group, there was actually one off the silhouette right about here, and if my GoPro were working, you would have seen that, or if you want to count them up. But there was one off the silhouette, and not good, not great, but generally 20 yards for defense is possible, but it's not a likely scenario. Yeah. So 3 shots, here we go. And this is just a peppered target, again, slightly right. And that's potentially due to more recoil. I tend to shoot most shotguns right, and it could be because shotguns kick a hell of a lot, or it could just be my sight alignment. I mean, I don't have a rear sight on this, but again, the pattern's shifted slightly right, but my aiming was fairly good on this, because we had 13 inches at 10 yards, and we're looking at about 16.25 here for 3 shots, fairly, or as quickly as I felt comfortable shooting. And I mean, that's decent. All the shots are on the target, but with the other shot, I mean, maybe I was more slightly right. We had one slightly off. You decide if you're comfortable with that. But we've got a peppered target here. We have one right down on the edge. Obviously, your body's going to extend, but that's kind of the. I mean, those would count, but it's a large group. So let's see what the Remington does at 20 yards. Okay, this is where I definitely confirmed that it kicks less. I can notice it's noticeable. You know, at first I was fairly fresh on the day and had not shot a ton, but after this I put it down, and I definitely said that kicks a lot less to myself. I didn't say it out loud because later I had my wife test them. But here we go. Again, the pattern's slightly left. That could be the barrel, could be me. Who knows? Same gun, different ammunition, so effectively everything is different. 13 inches with the Winchester. We're seeing 15 inches with the Remington. And whereas the Winchester was fairly dense in the center, I mean, this is evenly spread out, and not great. You don't have a dense pattern in the center. 3 shots. We open up to about 18.5 inches shot to shot, and there were a couple shots off down right. This pattern is more centered, it's slightly right, where with the Remington shots we're seeing slightly left. This is a wad hitting, and I still have a staple in there. Anyway, it's another wad, but with a pellet 18.5 inches, and I mean, it'll do the job. It definitely kicks less, but if you anticipate your target being farther out, not that either would be great, but I would probably lean towards the Winchester. I wish Federal Flight Control would make a 20 gauge. That would be great. So looking at the patterns, I mean, they're both pretty good at 10, actually really good at 10 yards, 20 yards, they start to fall apart. So if your home is 12, 15 yards maximum shot, it's probably a pretty good choice, either one. I don't think there's a big enough difference in pattern to make a difference. However, recoil is a different story. I mean, this is obviously reduced recoil, and this is a full power load. So the Winchester chronographed at 1,154 feet per second average, and it's advertised at 1,200 feet per second. That's a decent velocity. Most 12 gauge is in the 1,200 feet per second range, the reduced recoil stuff. And this Remington reduced recoil 20 gauge chronographed at 1,085 feet per second. So we got about 80 feet per second difference between the two, which is, we will be doing gel tests, and I've saved enough ammo to do gel tests. I don't think pattern-wise there's much difference within probably 15 yards. I didn't test that, but both of them look great at 10 yards. Clearly the Remington is spreading out quicker, at a quicker rate. So, I mean, if you're home, your greatest anticipated shot would be much greater than 15 yards. I'd probably go 12 gauge. Federal Flight Control. I wish Federal made flight control for the 20 gauge, but the market is much, much smaller. I was actually rather flabbergasted that Remington markets self-defense 20 gauge ammo. You see it in the 410 bore and 12 gauge. The 410 bore, because of the pistols, what is it, the Taurus Judge, Smith & Wesson Governor. So you'll see some personal defense ammunition, but generally the shotgun market is just flooded with 12 gauge. But I wanted my wife's perspective. She is, I got her into shooting, and she doesn't shoot that much. She likes shooting handguns. Did not, her father was a Marine and a cop for 20 years in Washington, D.C., but she was not exposed to guns growing up. Don't know why, but my kids are, and will continue to be. Anyway, I wanted her perspective. The first time I took her shooting, I took this shotgun with birdshot. I don't remember what number birdshot, but it was hunting upland game bird shot, not turkey shot, anything like that. Just upland game target loads. And she took one shot and handed it back to me and said, no, I don't like that. We are here 5 years after that, 4.5 years after that. And she shot quite a bit more. And on top of that, she's 34 weeks pregnant. So she was apprehensive to do this, but she did it for you guys. And took a couple shots with first the Winchester and then the Remington. So I gave you a couple different views, so let's see how that goes for her. Lean forward.
Okay. Is my shoulder okay?
Yep.
Should my cheek be on it?
Yep.
Any more?
So with that, I personally, looking at the video, editing the video, could not see much of a difference. And immediately when she got done shooting, she said the second one kicked much less, where she wanted to shoot more of it. The first one she did not like. And the numbers back that up. Granted, I'm better at managing recoil than she is. A 6mm Creedmoor she shoots and enjoys it. You give her a 308, she doesn't like it. So there's a threshold there. I'm sure we can increase that over time. But yeah, she found a considerable difference. And like I said, the numbers back that up. We saw a velocity difference of 1154 versus 1085. That's 6%. Not drastic. I mean, it's notable, but not drastic. Where you see the difference, it's kind of alluded to on the boxes. 20 gauge, blah, blah, blah. 20 pellets, number 3 buck. Number 3 buck is a standard. You could have different compositions of lead. I didn't actually weigh one buckshot versus another, but here we are, 17 pellets. So clearly lower velocity, and we have less mass coming out of the barrel. And energy is a function of velocity and mass. So obviously the gun is the same between the two shots, whereas with the 12 gauge comparison, it was not. But there was a significant difference in mass of the projectile, and to the point where I measured it twice. I cut them open and measured them twice. This is the Remington, which we're looking at. You get 17 pellets, and there's Grex, that's this white stuff that's in between the pellets to prevent them from deforming, and it potentially keeps the pattern tighter. The thought is when a round sphere gets deformed when it's being shoved down the barrel by the increasing pressure in the wad, it gets deformed, and that creates more wind resistance, which allows the shot to spread. I was very, very surprised at how little Grex this load had in it. I mean, it doesn't weigh a ton, but it obviously has mass to it. So that potentially could be why we're seeing a greater spread at distance. I'm not saying it is, but it might be. The other big difference I found was in the wad. I cut it, or it actually fell apart when I was taking it out of the shell. But this wad in my hand feels extremely light. It looks like, it almost looks like wood fibers. And then it's got wax on the front and back, where the Winchester has a very waxy felt material. Similar thickness, but there's a definite difference in density here. And I mean, clearly we have 3 less pellets, but there's also a significant difference in the wad. And the wads aren't encompassing the entire shot load with the Grex and the Buckshot like you see with a lot of 20 gauges where they open up and fall away. It's primarily just a pad between the powder and the shot load that goes out the barrel. So that does play into the weight of what's going out the barrel, which affects recoil. So we have a difference of 20%. 505 grains versus 403 grains. That's significant, and that's why they're calling this reduced recoil. Not only are you getting fewer buckshot, but you are using a different wad, and you are vastly throwing a lot less mass out the barrel. The Grex and the wad don't do anything for the target. The lower velocity along with the lower mass coming out the barrel means you can use less gunpowder. And the gunpowder charges were 2.5 grains difference, 10.6 grains. 10.6%. So again, less recoil coming into it there. When you work out the kinetic energy equations and look at the energy, which directly is pushing that rifle back into you, you're looking at a total of 29.5% difference. That's significant, and it totally took me by surprise. I did not expect nearly that much. So when you are looking at free recoil, which means the gun is just off in space floating, trigger is pulled, how much energy goes into that gun to push it backwards into your shoulder. And Winchester, you're looking at 11.8 feet per second, and Remington 8.9 feet per second, a difference of 25%. That's significant. So you're taking all these little things and adding them up to a large percentage. So when you actually look at the free recoil energy of the gun, now granted the mass of the rifle is the same, you're looking at 16 foot-pounds for the Winchester ammo, which is hunting ammo, not reduced recoil, and the Remington ammo, which is 9.1 foot-pounds of free recoil energy. That's a difference of 43%. And pretty damn near 50% less recoil with the reduced recoil loads. But we're only seeing a difference on the target of 30%. So you got 50% less recoil for the shooter, 30% less energy on target. And in between these, I mean, they're both not, I wouldn't want to be either target. Where I'm going with this is, I think my part 2 comparison against a 12 gauge was not fair. I should have been looking at a true defensive low recoil load, because that's honestly what I was using in the 12 gauge. And my justification at the time was, this is what I load my 12 gauges with, and this is what I load my 20 gauge with, which is valid for my situation. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know it was available. So now I am revising that. And if you want to build a 20 gauge for a lower recoil home defense gun, and you can secure a good amount of this ammunition, it's definitely going to be a lower recoiling package. And again, thanks to the user that suggested it. I'll put the comment on the screen. I forget the username. He doesn't have a channel. He's just a it's a YouTube account. But many thanks. I mean, this ammunition is a game changer. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. If you've lasted this long, it means you actually enjoy my channel. You'll notice I did not post a video last week, and so it's 2 weeks between my last video and this one. That is as you saw, partially because my wife is 34 weeks pregnant. We're trying to get the house ready for a second child. I'm doing these videos as quick as I can, but I'm not until it's due early October. I'm not going to promise videos every week. I'm going to do my best to put them out every week. At the most, it's going to be 2 weeks, and please bear with me. I'm going to get them out as quickly as I can, but I've got a lot going on. I know a lot of people on YouTube say that, but I'm going to try to get them out every week. It might not happen, certainly every 2 weeks. And thanks so much for watching. Until next time, enjoy.